Welcome to a new episode of Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid Ahmed. Hobbies are passionate little things that we do in order to avoid boredom. And avoiding boredom is probably one of the better ways to use your mind by picking hobbies. So the hobbies I talked about that I'm passionate about is honeybees, woodworking, cycling, videography, photography. Too many things to list, but let's get back to honeybees. Actually, we talked about honeybees starting off. What's happening? I should be getting my hive equipment today, which is Friday. Since this podcast is recorded, so today I was talking to my good friends, and I just told them, hey, my blue Yeti mic just arrived, or will be arriving today, and my cousin's like, why this microphone? What does it do? Like, well, it's a desktop USB microphone used by a lot of podcasters. I should be using it with my phone, but I don't know if that's possible. We'll research that once I get into it. But one of the cool things about this specific microphone is that it has the ability to switch between 4 different polar patterns. And you might be wondering, what are these polar patterns? What is a polar pattern? Well, a microphone polar pattern is basically a polar shape, or a shape of pattern which enables the microphone to pick sounds from its surrounding area. So there's 4 different types. Well, there's several different types, but the popular ones are: there's an omnidirectional microphone. This microphone is technically used on more stages. Most of the times, an omnidirectional microphone is a dynamic microphone, but you can't quote me on that because I gotta do some research if that is even true. So an omnidirectional microphone picks up sound from all of its surroundings. So front, back, top, bottom, you name it. Omnidirectional mic picks it. Of course, it'll pick the sound that's closest to it at a higher quality than something that's farther away. Omnidirectional. Then there's unidirectional microphones. These microphones have a single directional force or picking pattern, where these are used by singers and vocalists majorly, because when you're singing into a microphone, you don't want any surrounding sound coming through. You just want to capture the vocalist's, the singer's voice in its full dynamic range. So a unidirectional microphone comes in several different polar patterns. And some of these polar patterns, one of them is a cardioid. The shape of this cardioid pattern is like a heart. The second one is a hypercardioid, where it will catch sound from one directional, but it'll also catch some sound on the opposite direction. Then there's a shotgun mic. A shotgun microphone is a unidirectional microphone that's mainly used on cameras, video cameras, the handheld cameras you get. DSLR cameras use shotgun microphones because you're not going to be up in the face of the person talking, so you want to catch the audio in that direction that you're shooting. So that's where the shotgun microphone comes into play. And then the next is a figure 8. Figure 8 microphones catch sound from 2 directions, top and bottom, or front and back. So it's useful for interview style, where you're standing in front of somebody, and so it'll catch their sound and your sound as you're talking back and forth. So those are the main polar pattern that I've learned about so far. There might be more patterns, but these are the major ones used in the industry. Now you might be thinking, well, that's pretty cool. How do I get these patterns on what type of microphones would I need to, purchase? Well, there's other levels, other details on a microphone. There's dynamic microphones, and then there are condenser type microphones. Condenser type microphones are used by singers, vocalists, soft spoken word, because when you're talking really softly. So these microphones have to be able to catch all of those low frequencies or high frequencies, whichever one you want to say. And then dynamic microphones are mostly passive microphones. They can record loud sounds, like a drum kit will be hooked up, will be mic'd with dynamic microphones most of the times, just because they can normalize that heavy sound and give you the crispest quality. Now, all of this stuff I've read around the web, and I'm not quoting anybody, and I don't know if you can quote me, but I might be wrong, I might be right, but that's what what I know so far. So that's exciting. So yesterday I finished off talking about biking and the woodworking gear that I'm building. Last night I got some chance to further the progress of cutting up some more wood pieces that would then form the base for my rollers. The bike rollers will go on top of this. So they're at a point where now I need to square them up, drill holes, put screws in, and before I put the screws in, you want to make sure you glue it down. What I did last thing was I clamped the 2x4s together, so hopefully they'll be straighter today than they were originally. I do need to invest in some good clamps that will help me straighten my wood pieces in the future. But what I've got is just a 6-inch F clamp that can clamp to these panels and get me going. So woodworking front. So it's good that I use some of my equipment, some of my tools to get these things ready, because as I mentioned, I already placed the order for my hive components and the hive gear. And I was checking UPS today, and they said that it will be delivered today. I was like, wow, that's pretty fast, almost like 2 days. Well, the place that I ordered from is probably 5 hours away. They're up north in New York. So, hey, I'm totally happy to receive this equipment early rather than later. Um, Over the weekend, I could probably start building the boxes and setting up the frames. What I didn't get is a frame builder. I might have to borrow one from my mentor. So let's talk a little bit more about hive equipment or hive components. So a typical honeybee hive or a beehive is there's many different types, but the most popular one is called a Langstroth. A Langstroth is the person who came up with the design and idea for these hives. These are really cool hives where they're easy to inspect, and these are probably one of the ones that are most acceptable in the US, because you have the ability to go into the frames, inspect them, make sure there's no mites problem or whatever, just so you're not infecting or creating a mite problem around your area. Right then. So the hive bodies are typically 9 5/8 inches deep, and the width and the depth is almost the same, depending on the 10 frame or 8 frame. So an 8 frame box will take 8 frames, and then 10 frame box will take 10 frames. And then you have the depth of, you have a deep, you have a medium. Medium is about 6 5/8 inches, and then there's a shallow, which is 5 5/8 inches. So why are we so specific uh, in these sizing? Because whenever you're building a beehive, you want to make sure that there's bee space all around the area so bees can go through these bee space. And bee space is anywhere from 3/4 inches to 5/8 inches. I'm going to be so wrong on this because I don't remember. I just took the class 8 weeks ago. So bee space is very necessary. If any of the space is smaller than this minimum bee space, two bees cannot pass through. So what they do is they bare comb. They basically seal it up and say, okay, this area is closed. Do not pass through here. So you gotta make sure all the bee space. So that's why the dimensions and all of the numbers are so very specific. So what did I order? Well, let me tell you why I ordered what I did. I went with 10 frame medium boxes, and there's deep medium boxes. You can buy deep 8 frame or deep 10 frame boxes. Now, a deep frame is about 9 inches tall, and it's 18 inches by 9 inches. So, and once it's loaded with honey, it can weigh anywhere from 8 to 10 pounds. Most likely 10 pounds because it's a deep frame. So imagine having 10 of these honey-filled frames in one box. That's easily 100 pounds. It's not easy to lug around 100 pounds of honey anywhere. So that's one of the reasons I picked the smaller medium box. Now, most of the time, anybody who is harvesting honey, they would usually put a medium box for their honey supers. So it tends to be anywhere from 60 to 75 pounds. So that's manageable, or 60 pounds is the max, I think. I'll have to double check the numbers. Um, but the problem with that is now you've got to deal with medium frames and you got to deal with deep frames. Anytime you need extra frames, you have extras you'll need to have extras for both sizes. So that's the other reason I was like, I'm going to do all medium, and that's one of the things the Bruce instructed, or that's what he does. He's like, I just deal with all medium equipment. That way I don't have to worry about, do I have enough frames for that box? Whereas my mentor, he does deep boxes for his brood frames, and then he does medium boxes for his honey frames. And that's usually the case with most people. They'll do deep boxes and they'll do medium boxes for supers. So I've got 6 medium boxes to build. I don't have to build all of them. I just have to build 2 boxes because that's where the hive is going to start. And then I'll gotta have the other boxes ready. So as soon as the population starts growing, I can add in another box, cover it up, put frames in it, and let the bees go to town and, build out the honey and wax in it. So that's the plan for this weekend. You guys are welcome to send any questions out, and I will be sure to answer them, because the honeybee is it's gonna be pretty exciting. Let's see how long I stick with it. It does require a lot of attention and a lot of maintenance. I mean, not as much maintenance, but you still have to make sure that you're feeding the bees. You're making sure that there's no mite problem or beetles or any of that issue going on. Um, yeah, so that's bees for you. So microphones, got a new microphone to test out. Got to build some bee equipment. Got to finish building this bike roller setup. If you go to supergenet.com, you can find the article where I wrote almost 3 months ago. Maybe it was less, I can't remember. But I had started gathering gear back then and just hadn't had the time to put all of that together. But I will post a new article with the video and step by step on how I put together the bike roller uh, contraption. I think that's it for now. Thank you for listening. Live with compassion. Peace out.